Hi, I'm Carl Lazus, and we hope today's down-the-middle explanation of news events makes your Friday just a little more awesome. Thank you for watching CNN 10. News from the U.S. Capitol kicks off our coverage. That's where Republicans in the House of Representatives passed major legislation yesterday aimed at reforming the nation's taxes. The final vote was 227 yeas in favor to 205 nays against. Everyone who supported it is a Republican. Everyone who opposed it is a Democrat, plus 13 Republicans who joined them. Some highlights of the bill. It would reduce the number of U.S. tax brackets from 7 to 4. It would result in most American taxpayers owing less in income tax. It would also permanently reduce the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%. That's a tax that businesses pay on their profits. Republicans say all this would grow the economy, encourage businesses to hire and pay more, and help the middle-class families who are struggling. Democrats say the bill would mostly help corporations and wealthier Americans and add trillions to the national debt. Tuesday's passage is seen as a big win for Republicans in the House, but it doesn't mean tax reform has been passed. The Senate has its own plan that it's working on, and if senators pass it, the House and Senate would then have to reconcile, shape their separate bills into one plan that passes in both chambers on its way to President Donald Trump's desk. 10-second trivia. Where would you find a fornix and a cingulate gyrus? Would these be in a Formula One car, a foot, the South Pacific, or the brain? We hope you thought of the brain because the fornix and the cingulate gyrus are both part of it. Besides helmet technology intended to better protect that brain in American football, there have been several rule changes at all levels in recent years aimed at preventing concussions. New techniques of tackling, limited contact during practice, pitting kids against players who are the same size, and fining teams that don't follow the NFL's concussion rules. This is all part of it. Some critics say the changes alter the character of the game, which inherently comes with hits and risks. But there have been a number of brain injuries linked to former pro football players, and the NFL has been criticized for not doing enough to protect them. CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is a brain disease for which there's no cure. Experts believe it's caused from repeated head injuries like someone would get in football, boxing, or military service, though not everyone with head injuries develops CTE. Many former pro football players who thought they had CTE were confirmed to have had it after they died. Until now, that was the only way it could be identified. But researchers say they have new evidence that they identified CTE in a former Minnesota Vikings linebacker before he died in 2015.
The night before he passed, he was watching Monday Night Football, and he had his UCLA slippers under his bed. He loved the game, and he was proud of what he did.
Even to the very end of his life, former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Fred McNeil loved football.
He was a monster. He was a monster indeed, like all over the field, first one to the ball.
Despite how much of his life football later took from him.
Fred did everything. He played ball, went to law school, prepared for life after football. We had the kids. It was a good life.
McNeil played in 2 Super Bowls, was really no ordinary player. His sons say no ordinary man.
He was a best friend of ours, our first best friend, He was a Superman.
And then it changed.
It changed. CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, entered their lives. Of course, at the time, they had no idea what was happening.
I remember we were playing basketball, me and him. We kind of got into an argument while playing, and he started getting aggressive with me.
There was maybe 2 moments where he lost it and punched holes in the walls, and it was like, wow.
CTE can hit hard and fast. McNeil, just in his 40s, lost his job as a lawyer, filed for bankruptcy, lost the home.
I had a conversation with my mom, and I was like, I think something's going on. Like, he needs to go see a doctor, a therapist, something to figure out what it is.
It is something I noticed myself when I first met Fred back in 2010.
Just talking to you, I can tell that it's a little bit difficult for you. I mean, do you remember my name?
Oh, Sanjay.
Got it, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, good.
Rage,
memory loss, depression.
Yeah,
Did your father have all three of those?
definitely, yeah. He, that was another point of worry for us, because there was times when, you know, he would talk about ending it, and we were like, no way, like this is not our dad.
But it was their dad, a different dad, and it was easy to be angry with him. After all, they didn't know he had CTE. It couldn't be diagnosed until after his death.
And you also made the decision to have Fred's brain donated after he passed away. So,
Well, I had made the decision early on, but yes.
The first thing I want to show you is this.
And now for the first time, she is seeing her husband's brain and exactly what football did to it.
And all the brown blotches you're seeing are tau, which is the protein we see in CTE.
Dr. Bennett Omalu, recently made famous when Will Smith portrayed him in the movie Concussion.
If you look at his hippocampus, this is the part of the brain that controls his memory. He had significant memory impairment.
You can see how CTE ravaged McNeil's brain. But perhaps even more remarkable, Dr. Omalu tells us he already knew Fred McNeil had CTE before he died. How? Using a PET scan technology that he helped develop and partly owns.
You could see the red areas is identifying the tau in his brain.
If it is true, Fred McNeil would be the first person in the world to have his CTE diagnosed while still alive and then confirmed with an autopsy after his death.
It explains a lot because I am seeing a lot of the tau protein.
But it is early, too early. Just 14 NFL players, including Hall of Famer Tony Dorsett, have been examined using this technology. Only McNeil's diagnosis has been confirmed. The question is, will the test be able to distinguish CTE from other dementias, like Alzheimer's?
Fred played in the first 10 years of the league, so this is what, Super Bowl 50's coming, okay? So I know there's a huge number of players and families between, you know, that point and now when Fred first started playing that are going to be experiencing this, and it's important to have information for them to get help and support.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN, Los Angeles.
New record's been set for the most expensive painting ever sold at an auction. First, the work. It's a painting of Jesus Christ named Savior of the World. Second, the artist. It's attributed to Leonardo da Vinci. Third, the price. It's sold this week for more than $450 million. No artworks ever exchanged hands for that amount of money. But that brings up a tiny little fifth point. Art historians say it's not in great shape, it has considerable damage, and some say they're not even certain it was painted by Da Vinci. They just Leonardo don't know for sure. They say some parts of the painting are unconvincing. But at the end of the day, God, no matter how much you canvas a piece before bidding goodbye to your Monet, Chagall you're left with is a thin mirror of the past, a glimpse into history, a piece of remembrance to hang on your Warhol. I'm Carl Vaggio Azouz, punting with puns for CNN 10.